One of the most important values of the spiritual life is the notion of truth, is the notion of living a truthful life, honest, genuine, sincere, because the source of all life is true. God is true. And so to be able to be in touch with and connected with the source of all life and the source of our soul and the reality, the depth of everything, is when we're living a truth. What does it mean to be true? What is truth? Truth is something that is eternal, that is permanent. If it's true forever. Truth is true at all times and in all places. If it's true yesterday, it's true today, it's true tomorrow. It's true no matter where I'm at, no matter my mood, no matter life circumstances, no matter my location, no matter any variable in my life or in the life of anything. If it's true, it's always true, it's always there. And something that is not always there, doesn't always exist, it's sort of dependent on its external circumstances. Sometimes it's like this, but sometimes it's not like that. Well, then that is not something that is truly true. And in a sense, that's already false. False not necessarily meaning that it's bad or wrong or fallacious, but false meaning it's temporary, it's momentary. It comes and it goes, it's fleeting. So, what is the attribute of a truthful spiritual life? Well, you can imagine that tzaddik, which is the purely perfect righteous person, who lives by a truth all the time, because they're always animated, they're always inspired, they're always influenced by their godly soul, because they don't have an animal soul, whether they've defeated it, eliminated it, transformed it, different kinds of tzaddikim as we spoke about, but they're always on top of their game. They're always only inspired and only desiring to do that which is right, that which is good. It doesn't matter on a Monday or a Friday, a good day or a bad day. There's no such thing as bad days, because it's always the same by them. So the tzaddik is considered the life of truth. However, a Benoni, which is the person that we're talking about, the regular person who has a very strong, healthy, active animal soul, and they're just somebody who's gained mastery over their behavior, over their functional side, never to commit a sin, never to make a mistake, but internally there's a battle waging within them. Well, we would assume that their service to God is not true. Right? The verse in Tehillim that the Alter Rebbe quotes here from King David, it says, Svas emes tikoin lo'ad, the language of truth is established forever. V'ad argia lashon shaker, but the language of falsehood is something that is only momentary. So this Benoni, it's true that we said that there are times when even the Benoni person can achieve, can experience the blissful, peaceful life of the tzaddik, a moment of complete control and sovereignty of their godly soul. Moments of prayer, moments of reciting the Shema, moments of deep contemplative meditation, where within their minds, within their Chabad intellectual faculties, they are exploring, exercising the depth of their intellectual abilities to understand God, truth, reality, and it's permeating within them. And then it's over spilling to influence their emotions, that they're in a state of clarity where they love and connect and are attracted with that which is real, that which is right. And so therefore, there's this flow within them, like the experience of the tzaddik, that there's complete mastery from within in their soul all the way through till their behaviors, their thoughts, their words, and their actions. So there are moments of the day that the Benoni can achieve that, and that's a moment of truth for you. There's no dissonance. It's not like I'm doing one thing, but I feel another way, or I'm forcing myself, I'm coercing myself to behave in a certain way, even though I don't want to. That wouldn't be an experience of truth. An experience of truth is, I want it, I believe in it, I think that way, I feel that way, therefore I behave that way. It's a seamless thread throughout your whole persona. That's true. However, by the Benoni, that doesn't last forever. That's only a momentary experience when they're in that heightened, spiritually charged state. But the moment that ends, the moment their prayer ends, their meditation ends, we said, the animal soul reawakens and they fall back to their regular self. The battle begins once again within. And so even though they're able to master their behavior, but internally, their behavior is not necessarily reflective of what's going on inside of them. Inside, there's a battle. Inside, the animal soul is so vocal in how it wants to feel, how it wants to think, how it wants to emote, what it's attracted to, what its impulses and urges are. It would seem, therefore, that a Benoni is not capable of living a life of spiritual truth. They're making a strong effort, they're winning their battles, but that doesn't define truth. Like there's a very famous law, in fact, the law of a mikveh. The Torah says that the water, rainwater, that is kosher for a mikveh has to be mayim chayim, true living waters. What defines true living waters? So the law is that if it's a river that will dry up once in 7 years, it's considered false waters, not true waters. Only waters that remain longer than that are true waters. Again, because the notion of truth is something that remains, that is fixed. In Hebrew, the word for truth is emet. Emet is spelled by the first letter of the alphabet, aleph, the middle letter, mem, and the end letter, taf. Aleph, mem, taf. It shows you that truth is seamless. Truth travels all the way from the beginning, the middle, and the end. This water, for example, doesn't last forever. It dries up once every 7 years. So it's not true. So the Benoni also seems not to be emet. It's not the beginning, the end, the middle, and the end all the time. There are moments of truth in its life, and then moments where it reverts back to its inner struggle and dissonance. So does that mean that the Benoni, which is most of us, are unable to live a truly truthful life? So here the Alter Rebbe introduces a very important concept that we have to think about a lot and always keep in mind. There are different kinds of truth, different levels of truth. There's no one way to be truthful. There is the ultimate way to be truthful, as we've described, like the tzaddik, aleph, mem, taf, beginning, middle, end, all the way through, all the time. Then there's the more kind of relative level of truth. Truth is the truth and the essence of the level where you are holding by. It's your truth. Even though it may not look like and have the properties of the ultimate truth, but if it's your truth, then it's true. And the Alter Rebbe says, even if you're the Benoni, if you can live your truth, then you are true as well. You have true, genuine spiritual worship to God. In fact, the Alter Rebbe says, this is a commentary that people have given, is the Alter Rebbe says, and I refer and I pray on behalf of this Benoni that he too is actually true. And I recite this verse of, we said earlier, Sfat emet tikon la'ad, that the language of truth is established forever. So in other words, Alter Rebbe is introducing this relative truth is also true for the Benoni, but he's saying, I pray this verse because, as you may know, there's a custom at the end of the Amidah prayer, a person recites the verses that are his. Yet there's verses in scripture that are yours, they represent your name. So if you take your Jewish name and you take the first and last letter, you'll find a verse in scripture that has the first and last letter of your name. And we recite those verses. Those are your verses, which you should recite every day in your prayers. So that one of the Alter Rebbe's names was Shneor. It starts with a shin, ends with a resh. This verse that we're describing about the nature of truth also begins with a shin or a sin and ends with a resh. Sfat emet tikon la'ad v'adagei lashon shaker. So every day the Alter Rebbe prayed this verse, and he says, when I pray this, I have in mind the Benoni. The Benoni is also true. How and why is the Benoni also true? The Benoni is someone that has not and cannot conquer and defeat its animal soul within. It's true. That's a true point. However, the Benoni is capable of experiencing moments of truth, moments of the tzaddik state during its deep contemplative meditative prayer. And it's during those moments where you can gain full mastery, full sovereignty of your godly soul over your body, over your functions, so that you're living a seamless, peaceful truth of living a holy, godly life. So number one, the Benoni can and does experience that regularly on a daily level. And number two, even when you're not experiencing that, because even when your prayer and your meditation has ended and you're back to the regular grind of the day, you are, however, in potential capable of achieving that. And were you to be given a free moment, were you to be given an opportunity, you would right away go back to that because you want to be in that state. So because you do practice being in that state, and because you're able to be in that state whenever you wish, it is possible, not easy, but it is possible at any moment to pause and to enter into that deep, meditative, contemplative state where you can achieve the extent of the full intellectual appreciation for God, which will create within you the emotions that are attracted towards holiness and goodness, and that'll affect all of you. You can achieve that at any time. You're not going to live by that all the time because you have a life to live, and you got to get out there and you got to do what you got to do, and you're presented with the myriads of distractions and obstacles all the time. But you could, and because you could be there, you have the ability to be there. You too are considered true. It's your truth. You're doing the best that you are capable of. In the original verse that we quoted, it says Sfat emet tikon la'ad, which means the language of truth is that which is forever, that which is permanent. But the word Sfat also means Safa, which is a lip. A lip is the edge of truth. The Benini may not have the entire ultimate objective truth, but he has the edge, the lip of truth. And because of his unique kind of truth, it's his truth or her truth. It's the lip, it's the edge, but it's still considered, says the Alter Rebbe, a truth as well. So truth is relative to the layer, the level that it's on. Think about the law, the analogy that we brought about the waters, the living waters versus the false waters. We said if the water dries up once in 7 years, it's considered false waters. If it lasts more than 7 years, it's true waters. What about if it dries up in the 8th year? It's not true anymore. It's not permanent waters that last forever. True permanent waters should last forever. They're eternal. But the answer is true. That would be what truth sounds like ideally. But within the realm of creation, creation is something God created. Nothing in creation is forever. There's a beginning and there's an ending time of all of creation. Then relative to the state of the existence within creation, lasting 7 or more years is considered true versus lasting less than 7 years is not true. 7 is the number of wholesomeness, of being perfection within creation. The world was created in 7 days. If something lasts 7 years or more, then within the realm of creation, that's a relative truth. That's the truth of existence. Versus something that does not survive a full 7 years. Another analogy, example that Alter Rebbe brings is a quote from the Talmud about the Mishkan, about the tabernacle. So you may be familiar, the Torah describes how the tabernacle was erected in the desert, and it was there were these external perimeter walls, and the way these beams were held up is there were 3 rods that went through the center of the beams, which supported the beams. So there was the top rod, which went through the southern wall, the northern wall, the western wall, the bottom rod, and then there was the middle rod. The middle rod represented truth, because the middle path is the truthful path. The Zohar says about Yaakov, the third of the 3 patriarchs. Yaakov was considered the most, the greatest representative of truth of all the patriarchs, which is Abraham is the right side, Yitzhak the left side, and Yaakov being the middle. The middle side, the middle path, is always the most truthful path. And in a way, Abraham, who was a very great person, of course, but he had a child called Yishmael, who went off on his own way. Yitzhak was a great person, but he had a child, Esav, who went on his own way. But Yaakov, all of his children, all of his 12 sons and his daughters, ended up being going along his path, the path of truth, path of Torah. So Yaakov carries an element of truth. It's the middle path. The middle rod within the tabernacle walls was very interesting. There wasn't one rod for the southern wall, one rod for the northern wall, one rod for the western wall. It was one rod that managed to travel throughout the southern wall, turn, twist miraculously into the western wall, and turn, twist miraculously into the northern wall. The middle rod went and penetrated through every single side of that wall, through every single layer. That's called truth. Truth doesn't start and stop in one wall and start and stop in another direction, another angle, but it carries through every single angle, every single turn, every single experience. If you want to ask yourself, if it was a true rod, then it should last forever. It should continue going. It should be an endless, limitless, boundless rod. But it did start and end within the borders of the wall. True within the walls that it carried through. But the answer is that relative to the structure of the tabernacle, it was true. It went through all the walls, whereas the other rods did not. So that's the support for the idea that besides the ultimate overarching truth, there is the truth of your level, the truth of your life. And something so important for us to reflect on, because how often do we get let down and we feel despondent? We've tried so hard. Sometimes we succeed. Sometimes we're able to master ourselves, to accomplish our goals, and to live the correct, proper life as we should. And sometimes we fail. And sometimes we're so challenged. And sometimes we feel like all of our effort, where did it go? Because I'm back to square one. So the Alter Rebbe is telling you in this chapter here, even if you can't have the truth of the tzaddik, you can have your truth. And your truth means if you are working hard to be able to live by the highest ideal level that you can be and achieve your full potential, either in actuality, you are living your full potential, or even if sometimes you're not, but you're capable of it and you're mindful of it. And when and were you to be given the opportunity to do it, you would do it, which is the life of the true Benoni. You too are considered a true person, and your service to God is considered a truthful, genuine, sincere service. Live by your truth, your full potential. God bless you. Have an amazing day. That's the conclusion of chapter 13.